welcome again to this course about Introduction to Media Studies and exactly about how to study media. This course is going to be presented by Professor SADIK MADANI ALAOUI and designed for students of semester 4 at the Faculty of Literate and Human Sciences, FES. So in the beginning, of course, uh, one doesn't really study media just because by just reading a magazine or talking generally about their style or about the sort of articles that are in them. Nor is it sufficient to look for facts in those newspapers or how the information is being circulated or how information is being run on the television. So this is something crucial for anyone wanting to have ideas about media in general. But there are three major aspects that we loosely call the media and that are deemed very important to understand the media studies in general. And those aspects for the study are called institutions and also texts and also audiences. Many scholars, I think of media scholars, are more interested in how, and I focus the word how, the media affect our understanding and how the media also managed to help people construct a specific worldview and a specific vision about the world. And this, of course, involves more than just having an idea about the text or about the film. It should, of course, it incorporates taking various approaches and various methods to describe and analyze those elements and those features that can help people making sense of the world. The first, I think, the approach that we have to understand is, of course, to understand media as a process. And for this, there are aspects of media that may look at various things. Number one, in institutions that own and run and finance the media, because it is very important. So research in this regard is I think helps us understand the internal mechanisms of how media work, because having this idea about the producer, the tag, the scenario, the technical aspect, the visuals are all important in constructing specific meaning and framing the audience with meaning. Secondly, the production system that put together the material. Here, I think we are making reference to the economic power media has in society and the conditions under which media material is put together. And again, here we are referring to the technical aspect of media and the major transformations it might have on the psyche and the socialization of people. The process also should understand the text of how the text is produced, be it in the magazine or in film, in movie, in advertisements, in billboards. So I think for media literacy purposes, people should know how this is going on. And next, of course, the representation that are in the text. This has to do with some ideologically oriented assumptions, which are very important in societies because representation, I think, is something that has been studied a lot and has been investigated by a lot of scholars, and it has helped us to understand what's really going on in various societies, and most importantly, the meaning that are in the representation or in our minds or circulating in society. Here we are referring back to what we call the mainstreaming culture, the mainstreaming ideas and knowledge that exist in society. And the next point is the audience that makes sense of the product, because uh, the in the process of media we have one sender, and of course we have one, there's the receiver. The receiver here in this context is of course the audience, and we need to know, to understand how the audience deconstruct, if you like, or understand, manage to understand and to make sense of what they see. The last point is the context in which the material is received and understood. I think it's here we are referring back to a specific code of frame of occurrence, and which helps also to create and generate some meanings that have a say in the mindset of in the mind of the audiences and the viewers in general. So for media research, the next point related to this is we are putting the question about what are the major approaches for all the subjects involved. In this approach, we cannot study everything, but we focus on some specific points or specific elements other than rather than all the elements at once. And one of the elements, the subject that we can focus on is what we call description. Description of the features of the object of the study is what we call in research sample. Then the analysis of that feature, we go to the application of ideas and analytical approaches, how we analyze the data collected and how those ideas, are applied, in the film or in the magazine or the various types and genre of media. And we are also more concerned with the interpretation of what one takes from the analysis and description. I think these things are going to be clarified once I'm going to explain to you one example of the advertisement item that I have worked on, and I have published an article about it that is called Visual Semiotics and Interpretation in Moroccan Television Advertisements. Uh, so, so in media in general, I think it is not about the what alone, but it's also about the how the thing, the media is produced. And it's also about how the internet operates. It's also about how the people, watch these, the habits, etc., and how magazine represents with disabilities, etc. So the list is very varied. And remember the first thing I have told you when I read the book about more than meet the eyes, the introduction to media studies. I think you have to read about those aspects in much more detail. Okay, so the investigation approaches. Yes, the investigation, I think, uh, focuses on the how and also on the why. And that is, for example, why do we have always, uh, we should put that question of why do things happen the way they do? What are the motivations, the major incentives behind the use of certain elements, media in so media messages? How does the audience make sense of the word? Why do we have the kinds of production it reads and sees? Systems and productions that we do, we have to put those questions, why and how. Why does it make a particular kind of sense? And how do these systems work of this material? One of the answers that are provided, in this lecture is that media text becomes much more significant when it is repeated. So things that are repeated are worth, I think, investigating and worth examining. To take an example, if you study magazine for women, for example, in a certain age band, and find that certain topics are repeated again and again, then these topics must be significant than those that are more repeated. So media texts, as we know, generate meanings. Okay, studying media involves looking for messages and for meanings, and how meaning is constructed, how meaning is generated from those materials, given the fact that meaning, of course, come through all forms of communication, not only in words. Okay, so it is arguable that messages come from powerfully through pictures. Remember the proverb that say pictures is worth 1,000 words. Visual communication today has more powerful effect than symbolic, if you like, communication or verbal communication. And so looking at a picture, for example, of a person is quite like looking at the real person. Here, semiotically speaking, we are referring back to the iconic nature of the people. When we use language, it is the symbolic aspect of the message. So uh, it is then an illusion of being like that. It is important that makes sense of the makes sense of image analysis. Okay. So a great deal of media material today is pictorial nowadays, and just for the sake of repetition again, I would just tell you we, that nobody can ignore the power of the iconographic power of the picture. The iconographic power in the picture means the effect it might have on the viewers, whether we like comics or in films or in television. We feel that the picture of in television has more effect, especially when it is accompanied and illustrated with some music cues and music. We talk here about cueing or the voiceover or something like that. So even sometimes newspapers, which are visual, if you think about the graphic qualities of those visual, the layout and the number of photographies that are filled in magazines or in tabloids have an impact on the reader. I think we can check about this emphasis on pictures by using a content analysis as a method of study. So now the next point in this lecture is the types of methods of analysis or of studies. So methods of study media in general, we have first and foremost the what we call the textual analysis, and this term incorporates more than a method or more than a way of analyzing media text. The first one is called, we call it semiotic analysis, and the second one the image analysis, the content analysis, the narrative analysis, and the genre analysis. Okay. So those methods try all of them. They have one purpose, is that they try to describe and make sense of a certain features in the text. Of course, remember when I'm using the word text, I'm not referring to the text which is the written the script, but a picture can be considered to be a text, is a text. Okay. Language also, in one sentence it can within it is framed within a sentence, paragraph is also considered to be a text. Media text, of course, or semiotically speaking, a text is anything. Okay, so those methods too may claim that these features are all signs and sometimes conventions. We are speaking about science when we are talking about semiotics, and conventions when we are using the language, and they do really coexist or exist within certain codes. So all of them lead to ideas about meanings in the text, ideas about how audiences make meanings out of reading the text. And in this regard, we have to refer back to Stewart Hall talking about encoding, decoding, how the picture is encoded and how it is decoded by various readers or authors or viewers, I think, is quite difficult. We talk also about the negotiated reading, the preferred reading, and the imposed reading. Is also a matter of something, a technique or I would say a tool of analysis that researchers and students should use in order to understand various elements of the text. So, in general, the textual analysis refers to a generally to the taking a part of a text. So we have to deconstruct it in order to understand the different components that are composing and understand composing that text to provide specific kind of meaning. So textual analysis tends also to look for structures and tries to look for patterns of one kind to another of this. So here, patterning is one characteristic that is used by the textual analysis, and because so often and it relies on what we call the mainstreaming culture. We have patterns in our mind because this is related to what we call representation, and this representation comes from the mainstream culture, and the mainstream culture is the not the engine, but it's the where we can have we bring meaning and where we can interpret any type of text. So for the textual analysis, the first thing that I'm going to illuminate or to give to put the light on is semiotics. Semiotics, as we know, is the study of science and science system in any society. It is, I think, the father of semiotics is Peirce, and before it's the Saussure talking about signifier, signified, and those elements I think are used in so far as the order of signification is concerned. So semiotics then concentrates on building blocks of the text to get meaning from science. Words, of course, are considered science, and adopting or opting for the semiotic analysis requires from anybody to have the semiotic tool. So he should be well equipped with the semiotic tools in order to successfully analyze and understand and extract meaning from the text. So this is a good approach to study media, and because it assumes that all texts are made up of signs and that these signs have meaning attached to them. I will give you an example of the word cat. Semiotically speaking, cat denotes the animal cat, but it connotes gentleness, it connotes catness, it connotes beauty, and it connotes also something positive. Okay, because of the independent nature of the cat, with its fiery its warmth, and its being acceptable as a domestic, pet in the classroom. So the first meaning here is we label to the cat as an animal is called denotation. But the second meaning, having going more further in meaning, is what we call the connotation. So what is connotation and what is denotation and what is the anchors? These are techniques that we use in semiotics to analyze image. So A semiotician would look at these aspects. So denotation means picture element that describe factually and objectively meanings about things that are referred to from a material world. For example, this is an image of a male kicking a round leather ball. The ball is the foreground of the image. So, simply put, I would just tell you that denotation means explicit meaning. What you see in the picture, what you see in the photo or in the text. Now let's go back to the connotation. The connotation, it is the onset. It is the implicit meaning. So meaning from those elements, meaning from the word of ideas. Example of the image creates meaning of aggression. For example, somebody kicking the ball in the face of somebody else. We can interpret it as a sign of aggression because the ball and the foot seem to be kicking into the face of the viewer in the picture. And of course, one other technique that we use in the visual communication, which is called anchorage. Anchorage, for example, these are pictures or words or sentences trying to pin down certain meanings, like the captions in the photos and the titles in pictures. So as not to be, I think, to go very much quicker, I will have to explain to you this one example. Yes, these are semiotic analysis of this. So what you see here is a question mark, okay, and the lady taking, showing us with her two fingers something in her hands. What is it? Now we have the garlic, and then we have a garlic cube. Okay, then we have parsley and materials of the kitchen. Then also olives, onions. Okay, and we have the kitchen. The woman is preparing, lunch or something like that. Now we have the garlic cube that is dispersed in the dish, the coming of the husband and trying to taste the preparation, and we have a kissing. He was really satisfied. The husband, he's kissing his wife. Then show. I'm sorry. Before that, I think we have to move from this. Yes, the woman showing the knorr, then pouring the knorr of tastiness in the dish. We add in carrots, then tasting, then we have the satisfaction culminated by a kissing and showing the bread. Okay, so this is literally speaking, I think, the first picture about that. So I think from, if you'd like to analyze this, I would say that from a semiotic perspective, there are a number of elements that could be deconstructed. Now, we speak about meaning existing in those advertisement, or in this advertisement, and now we are going to deconstruct those pictures to understand to make sense of the ad. So there are a number of elements, of course, that should be deconstructed, and the reason for those ads, I think, I tried to focus on those elements to be the richest in symbolism, okay, metaphor, and connotation. By the way, what you have just seen is an article that they have published in IMIST, and you can have the link below. Here is visual semiotics and interpretation in Moroccan television advertisement, the case of garlic cube and Prince biscuit, two advertisements that are analyzed using the semiotic analysis. I refer you back to this link if you would like uh, to read the full article. These are just extracts from my article. So reading ads for meaning is carried out at two main levels, the denotative and connotative. These are two, I think, elements of semiotics that help in understanding and making sense of the ad. So in the TV, the ad Dwimat Knorr. Dwimat Knorr, this is, I use the term as it is used in the advertisement. The denotative meaning is self-contained in the syntagm of the shot. Of course, we speak about the visual, we speak about a shot, okay? It's laqta, the snapshot, okay, of the whole ad text. So in this, each shot is taken as a signifier and has an idiosyncratic meaning as a signified, and that the iconic representation of the woman denotes the real woman, and the garlic cube denotes real food products, and the kitchen denotes a real cooking place. So notice now the first level of signification. We talk about a real kitchen, real woman, and real food product. Now let's move to the second part of it, of connotation. What is not said? So the second level of signification, which is the connotative function or level, is when we try to match the meaning of how Moroccans perceive such images, of course, and what interpretations they assign to them. The portrayal of the man and woman in the kitchen, in shot number 14 and 15, is an example of the stereotypical image of how a typical woman and man should be conceived of in Moroccan society. These are stereotypes, if you like. Okay. Uh, Generally speaking, the commercial is a sequence of more than 16 shots. Okay, normally it is not a shot; it's a sequence. Okay, these are a sequence, but I have used a software called Aurora, I think, to deconstruct the shots in order to understand the different parts of the sequence. But the sequence, more than 16 shots, presenting a food called Wimat Color in a very refined setting of modern kitchen. The TV ad targets women viewer and associate the purchase of the product with success, happiness, and love. And this is quite evident from the satisfaction of the husband at the end. But at the beginning, as I have told you before, the media producer or the advertiser try to create suspense since the big outset of the advertisement, and started with an image of question mark accompanied by a catchy music. I'm sorry, I cannot show you the whole ad in its music, but I'm just trying to tell you what's really there. So there was a music trying to grab the attention of the viewer with this question mark, and from my own interpretation, I say that it's a kind of I think a catchy way of pushing the viewer to pay a close attention to the end. Then we understand that this question mark is, if using semiotic terms, is a kind of indexical cue of questioning and inquiry. This image goes, of course, in parallel with the female voiceover saying an enigma, very small, delicious, and it is not cube of tastiness. I have translated the term because صغيرة وبنينة وماشي هي ظلمة البنة. Okay, this is a translated term. So this linguistic codification, this is why we use in semiotic, we use iconic icons, we use symbolism, and here we have one of the symbolisms of language. Okay, the linguistic codification is directive and informational and speculative in the sense that it is used to mean to delimit the reader, to frame our understanding of the ad in order to know how to make sense of that ad. So such a food product, I'm talking here about garlic cube, Dwima Knorr, is aired not as a commodity in itself, okay, it's if we like to analyze it, but for what it can do for the relationship with men and women in the family. I think in terms of the appearance and the character of the woman, we noted that she is very beautiful, attractive, uh, young, chic, of course, and slim, cute, any positive aspect about the personality character can be associated with that woman. And therefore, the iconic nature of the sign and the denotative meaning are very clear. So the connotative and the mythic aspect, because when we speak about connotation, we cannot avoid talking about myths. And myths are a kind of stereotypes that are used to fix specific meanings about certain things and objects or product or whatever. So the iconic image of the woman stands for the stereotypical uh, image of the Moroccan woman. This is as if the advertiser is telling us this is how you should, I think, perceive of women, Moroccan women. She is very beautiful, cute. She is very, I mean, competent in preparing good food. But her place also is in the kitchen, and she can manage to create satisfaction, gratifications, and of course, uh, uh, you know, happiness inside home. And this visual code represents a gender in which the female takes on the active role. One would say that the woman is in complete control of the situation, and here we talk about the idea of power also. So here, who takes control? Because she is the master of the setting, the master of the place, then we can say that she is more powerful and she has complete control of the situation. So the next chart, I think, represents a typical modern woman, and it is a kind of uh, the advertiser is advocating for feminist tendency in trying to show that ad of the woman as addressing, as the way it is addressed and the way it is, portrayed, but not as a commodity, but as a stereotypical picture for success and happiness, as I have already said. So, in addition to that, one would also notice the color codes emerging, and I think the theme or the thematic think aspect of the color used is the color green. So green in our Moroccan culture symbolizes vivacity, life, vitality, action, and so on and so forth. And all these are elements, of course, that are associated with the success of with the product. But at times, when we start looking at the color connotation, we have this syntagmatic pattern springs out. The woman clothes are in complete symbiotic relation with her husband, with the kitchen, with the dish, the tasty dish, and everything. So everything. This is called no syntagms. It means, I mean, that the whole visual structure of the ad. Now we move to another, I think, another dimension of in the analysis of fusion semiotic analysis is especially the one dealing with talking about representation and the iconicity. So I think that one of the significant component of the Garlic cube in shot 13 and 14 and 15 is that they generate meaning of love, happiness, security, and satisfaction. And we understand that the iconic representation of the man and woman denotes a good and successful relationship between husband and wife. And yet, the connotation, I think, goes much more further if we take the context. The context, we call it the personalized format that is well exploited, which is the kitchen by this iconographic power of the image. and there is a strong association, I think, between the success of the product and the happiness of the couple and the component of verbal cue, because there is again the voiceover telling us a bit of love, a bit of competence, and the garlic cube of Knorr, and all to Knorr. It means that Knorr is the product that helps in the success and in this creating, if you like, this symbiotic relationship between husband and wife. So, in order not to be, lengthy in the analysis, just to tell you that there are other methods. I have just explained to you semiotic analysis, but then, of course, we have other analysis like content analysis, which tries to quantify exactly the amount and nature of the material studied or analyzed. We have another method called image analysis, which reeks into the meaning of visual materials through careful description of where the camera is placed, technical and other devices that contribute to the treatment of the image, and through careful observation of elements of the image content to one another. Other methods use surveys and especially questionnaires to examine the audience attitudes, the audience knowledge, the audience opinions, interviews, having the same purpose, and folks group also having the same purpose, but between once what with one slight difference, which is of course focusing on opinions of cross section of the audience at one time. And the last method is called ethnographic surveys, or some people would prefer to call it audience analysis, which involves surveys, discussions with the audience of time at point of consumption. Thus far, we've come to this conclusion to tell you that media studies is the critical and cultural analysis of all media format and the role they play in society. So it is not only important to know what media studies is about, it includes all these types of forms of media, notably print, news, television, and video games. Nowadays we talk about the internet, we talk about Web 2.0, Web 3.0, Web 4.0. These are types of internet forms. Um, Today, we cannot ignore that media is the mirror of society's culture, because it influences and is influenced by the cultural values of our community. Media in general is powerful because it managed to enhance and promote great cultural change in society. So, getting to know how media operates in various societies helps us to make sense of it and understanding the internal mechanisms of how media operates. Thank you very much for your attention and see you in another video.